this is the card that we are making tonight. And I have the mini catalog right here. It's tattered and torn. I've gotten some good use out of it. So on page 32 is this card. So you can see it's a pretty good likeness. There's only one thing that I really did differently, well, that I can tell anyways, and that is I believe that they put these words up on foam, but I find it to be a little bit of a pain. It is a beautiful look when it's up on foam, but I find it's a bit of a pain to get out and to work with, and this was just super easy without the foam, so I chose not to do the foam. But for tonight's card, we're going to be starting with a base card of thick basic white, and then another, it can be thin, it doesn't matter, it can be the regular stuff too. I'm using thick basic white for this layer though, because I want to give this some stiffness to it. We're using Mary Merlot for this label in the background. And then we're using some pieces from the Fine Art Floral DSP. And those papers are right here. I'm kind of running low. It's actually some of these papers are going out in sample packs for thank yous for those who are placing orders. And so, but you can see it's one side's got a pretty floral design, and then another one, the other side has a nice design to it, but it's much more subtle and more, less busy. Let's see, there's this one. I love the colors in this one. Pretty peacock. Sad to see it go. But I love that painted look on the back is very nice too. Let's see what's on this one. It's pretty roses, and then some must be bumblebee color on the back. This is my absolute favorite paper. I love this one. That's what we're going to be using tonight. It's got this design on the back. Let's see, what haven't I showed you? Let's see, I showed you that one. I think I showed you that one. Yeah, I showed you that one. Right now I'm just going on scraps here. So then there are these two pieces right here. And these actually go really well with the gold overlays, the acetate overlays. Let me see if I can show you. So on page 33, right up here, there's Golden Garden Designer Specialty Acetate, and it's got a gold overlay in it. And one of the sheets overlays really beautifully onto this, and so it just gives some pretty added gold touch there. But I'm going to show you how to use a gold touch without those overlays. We're going to actually be using the Gilded Flakes, and those are actually on this page as well. They're right here. It's the Gilded Leafing Embellishment, and let me see if I can find the jar that it comes in. Yes, I can. I put it away. So this is the jar it comes in, and I've actually dumped out a lot. It looks totally full, but I actually have quite a bit of it in this food container from, I don't know, Applebee's or someplace. This just seems to multiply. You pour it out and it multiplies. It's crazy, crazy stuff. And you want to be very careful with it, and I will show you why. And if I had to do it all over again, I would put it in a cardboard box and not a plastic box, because plastic is staticky. So anyway, let's put that aside and get to making this card. One of the things that I really liked about this card was that things weren't squared up. They were kind of in, on a diagonal. So if you look, this bottom layer here goes at a slant upwards, and I really liked that. So to accomplish that, I started with a piece of this designer series paper that is 2 3/4 inches by 6 inches. So the standard card front is 4¼ by 5½. So having something that was 6 inches meant that it could extend. And so by putting it on the diagonal, I have it running this way, and it's going completely off on both sides. So before I actually put that down, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to add these gold leafing elements. It's really very simple to do. You will need your gold leaf. You will need a heat tool, and you will need heat and stick powder and Versamark powder. So I actually have 3 bottles of heat and stick. When I started 20 years ago, this is what the bottle looked like. And then it changed sometime, I don't know, 10 years later or something like that, to these colors. And then Stampin' Up! Now this isn't heat and stick, but I know that the new heat and stick bottle would come with the black and white label because that's what they're using now. So this happens to be Dazzling Diamonds, but I'm going to be using the heat and stick tonight. So I'm just going to pick one of those bottles that says heat and stick. And this one's pretty full, actually. Just got my tray out. Now, in order to do this, we need something that makes the gilding stick, and that's what the heat and stick powder is for. But the heat and stick powder doesn't stick by itself. You have to activate it, and you activate it with, everybody, heat. That's why it's called heat and stick. So we're going to use it just like we use embossing powder. I'm going to take my Art Gallery stamp set, and I'm going to use this die, the overlay die. That's just going to give some accents. Okay, so you can see that my stamp is stained pink because I've been using it with some pink flowers, and pinks and reds just happen to stain everything all the time, but it does not affect the stamping, and it doesn't come off once it's clean. So I've inked up this with Versamark, and I'm going to stamp over this flower. And again, I'm off to the side, so I'm hoping I'm getting it straight, but it's all right if I off a little bit. This is just an accent anyway. I'm going to do it here as well. And I think I'm going to do the base of this one over here. So those are really my primary flowers I was focusing on. I'll get my heat and stick powder out. And just dump it over those flowers that I just stamped on. So you can probably see a little bit of the dustiness from the heat and stick powder. Just going to take a second to pour this back in. It's a very full bottle, so I do know it goes back in. I just got to be a little bit careful. Come on. Close enough. Ooh. All right, we'll get this out of the way. So now when I heat it, the trick is when you heat this, you do not heat it long at all. You just want it to blast it enough so that the powder turns. The second it turns, you want to remove it, otherwise it's going to end up losing its stickiness. So I see it get darker, I move along. It does not take long at all. Wait a minute. I missed one spot, I think. Okay, so now the heat and stick has been activated. It's if you will, I've melted the dry glue is what it amounts to. Now I'm taking this cover off very carefully because of the static. It will jump, and this stuff is so light. It flies everywhere. You can see I have a sponge in there, and I'm going to use that in a second. But for now, I'm going to take my piece and just turn it upside down. Oh, you see that stuff fly? And look at how it's all sticking there. Okay, looks like a hot mess, doesn't it? But I'm just going to take my sponge and rub in circular motions. And sometimes I have to get some of it off my sponge a little bit too. But this circular motion will rub off any of the excess, and it will make the leafing stick to where there was heat and stick powder. Now, heat and stick powder is not the only way that you can attach this gold leafing, and look at that. You see that shine? What else can you use heat and stick with? You can use it with dazzling diamonds. Sheila, good question. It will make your dazzling diamonds your glitter stick if you want a very glittery section of your page. You could, for instance, take, sometimes sets come with little tiny dots that might mimic snowflakes. So you could use heat and stick on that and then pour on your dazzling diamonds, and you've got snow or stars, whichever way you want to think of it. I'm just going to brush this off. Again, the little pieces go everywhere, but you can see I still have a lot left. This stuff will last you a long time. So besides heat and stick, you could just use any kind of glue. You could use the liquid glue. You can actually make a frame or a nice straight line with tear and tape, put that down, or even your Stampin' Seal. Anything sticky is going to work with the gold leafing. So now that we've got that done, I'm going to sit down at my desk and see if we can continue on. So in order to recreate this card, I need to add on these bottom strips. So I've already cut those, and they were cut at 1 3/8. It wasn't science, but it ended up being 1 3/8 by 5.5 inches. And I'm just putting those on straight, just as I would any piece of cardstock. I'm gonna line this up carefully here. Oh, I can feel some powder on my scrap. I'm gonna get rid of my scrap. All right, so I've got that piece on, and I'm gonna put the other piece on at the bottom. And I decided to use Stampin' Seal tonight, but I can see the red line inside, so I may end up running out at some point. And that'll just give me the opportunity to show you how to replace it if I do. So there, we've got that one down. Now we're going to put this one down, and I'm just running it diagonally so that one tip is over here, one tip is down here, and it's okay if they run off a little bit. You're just going to trim this anyway. But I want to take care and note, like, I don't want my adhesive to come into this area because I'm not using it there. I'm using it over here. So I just want to be a little bit mindful of where I'm putting my adhesive. So I come in a little bit there. And something like that. You take your snips and just open it on the inside and trim that little layer off. Open it here and trim that little layer off. And there's the basics of your card front. And this is really pretty all on its own. I mean, you don't even really need to put anything else on it. You could have, this is just a note card, and then somebody opens it up and, then you've got whatever inside. But we are going to fancy it up a little bit just because we need to make it look like the sample. So these next two layers, the white layer and the Mary Merlot layer, were done with the Stampin' Cut and Emboss, but actually not really the Stampin' Cut and Emboss. They were done with my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss that I just got. Look how cute it is. It's so little. Let me see if I can get the big sister out. So this is the size comparison. Mama bear, baby bear. Just so little, so cute. It's adorable. Now, there are drawbacks to this one. This one does not run through any really large die. So that die from the succulent set that did a whole card front won't work because it's too big to go in. It also will not take a full-size embossing folder. Let me get one of those out. See, too big. So that's the drawback to this. But if you are primarily just using either the small half-size embossing folders or just primarily dealing with dies that are little, this is great. I got this because as a demonstrator, I'm often going to be using the smaller dies and sometimes the bigger things all at once in a class. And so it's nice to have them more than one machine available so that I can get people moving through the projects. So this works mostly the same as the other ones. I am going to cut a piece of the Mary Merlot using the Tasteful, what's it called? Tasteful Labels dies. This is a basic set of dies. It is carrying over. It's not going away like my beloved stitched shapes. Not on this piece. I'm going to do it on this piece. So for this one, I need, and it will tell you right on the dies, it says use with thin dies. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put plate number 1, and then it says I need a sandwich of the two number 2 plates. So on the bigger machine, these are labeled number 3, but on the smaller machine, they're labeled number 2. You just got to pay attention. The directions are right on the piece. So I'm going to just run that through. And we have a nice little label size. There we go. I'm going to put this aside for just a second because I need to prep my next piece. My white piece needs a little bit of something to happen to it before I do anything else. I'm just putting my Tasteful Label die away before it gets lost. I'm going to use the Just Want to Say die to cut out my words. And there are a couple ways I can adhere this. I can adhere this with being very careful with my green glue. I can add some glue with the fine tip glue pen, or I can use an adhesive sheet. Now my adhesive sheets come in a big package, but I cut a little square down so as not to waste it. That is roughly the size of the cardstock that I'm going to cut from. So it has a little peel here sign. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to peel that off. And the adhesive is right there. I'm going to put my cardstock on it. And now when I peel off this back, that'll be the sticky part. So this will be the side that shows. I want to just run it through like this. So I'll get my cute little mini machine out here. And again, I remembered this time, I'm trying to make sure that the end kind of goes through so that there's not a hard line. Like I wouldn't want to send this side through first because it's all kind of together. If I make it a diagonal a little bit, it kind of goes through a little bit at a time. just a little bit easier on the dies and the machine. Now, one of the things you want to pay attention about, or to, it's just me closing the machine, not breaking it, is when you take this out, the just has a little piece in it for the J. If you want to use that, make sure you know where it is. Right now, it's in my die. I'm just going to keep it there so I don't lose it. It's very easy to think that it is a, you know, it's just a piece of waste, but it's not. I'm going to take my words out, and this is why using the thick basic cardstock was a better choice. It just is a little bit stiffer, comes out a lot easier. Now there still are a couple pieces that I want to take care of. So I don't need this center from the A, and I don't need the little piece from the Y. And see how when you start getting some of these pieces out, you can think that the part from the J is just another scrap. So that's why I like to call it out separately, because it looks a whole lot like this piece that was from the O. And there we go. Got all those pieces out. I'll just get that out of my way. So just want to say, there we go. I'm going to bring my label back in here, but it really, you want to mimic the line, the diagonal line on the card. So I find it is best, let me get these out of the way a little bit. I find it's best to put this layer in front of you and think of it as, think of where you're going to put it. I mean, I could even put it on right now. I suppose I might as well do that. But in order to do that, I need my ribbon. So the ribbon went underneath it as just a nice little accent. And this ribbon is the fine art ribbon. It goes with this suite. It's designed to work really nicely with the suite. It's a really nice texture. It looks like it might be rough, but it's not. It's very nice, and it moves very well. This is the accent behind, so to figure out how much I'm going to need, I'm just going to sort of mock it up, go back and forth, and that's about all I need. So I'm going to cut it right here. And if I were making multiples of these, I would just measure this and cut multiples all at once. Those of you that were in the ribbon share that got one of these already have this ribbon. You can tell how nice it is. So I know that I'm going to put this on my card with dimensionals. So I'm going to prepare the back right now. That'll also help me hold down my ribbon a little bit. And I also want to put some strips of my Stampin' Seal down to hold my ribbon. So again, if I just get an idea of where this is going, that will allow me to figure out where this last loop has to start. So maybe it's like this, and it goes right up here, and then it comes back down. Maybe up a little higher here. Let's see how that looks. That's pretty good. I'm going to trim this off in a little bit, but that looks like my ribbon's placed roughly where I want it. Hi, Anne. Thanks for joining us. Now I'm going to take this off. Oop. So let's see. That looks about... Sorry, I'm just going to have to hold it up for myself for a second just to make sure that it's straight. So that looks good. So put that down there. I can go ahead and trim my ribbon now. There we go. Now I just need to put these words on. And you don't have to use all of them. You can, you know, you can say just, and then you could add miss you. I mean, there's a lot of words in that set. You could do whatever. Or you could write want to on the inside, whatever you want to do, and ask somebody if they want to do it with you. So, you know, want to go shopping? Want to hang out? Do whatever. But I'm going to go with the just want to. So remember, this had a backing on it. So to expose the adhesive, I'm just going to take it off, and it comes off so nicely. Again, remember, I want this to mimic the line of the DSP. So let's put this up here. Press that down. And you can play with it a little bit. This will come up right now. So there is some play in that, which is really, really nice when you get it on wrong the first time. So you can obviously tell that I've discovered that it's, you can still play with it. It's not like stamp and seal, which is harder to get up. I'm going to put this one on, and again, I want to work the angle. Okay, that looks pretty good. It is important to pay attention when you're doing this, so you make sure the words are in the right order, in the right place. Just want to. And then we got the say here. All right, while I'm doing this, if I'm going to write down a number, and this time my number is between 25 and 75. So go ahead and guess a number, and one of you is going to get this card in the mail. And I won't write in it, so you can use it again. So just want to say. Now, if I want to use this little, piece here, I can now pop it out, and I can put it right there if I want to. But I actually think because this is popped up, it looks a little odd there. So I went ahead and when I was adding my clear epoxy droplets, which, let me get the clear ones out. I'm running low on the, you know what? I'm not going to use the clear ones. I'm going to use the cloudy ones. I think they're called frosted ones. So this droplets packet, in the new catalog, there's going to be droplets that come in clear and silver, not clear and frosted, but they're also going to have different designs. Right now, our droplets are just rounds. They come in different sizes, but they're frosted and clear. So it's going to be a little bit of a change in the next catalog, but we're still going to have these yummy little droplets. I'm going to get out my little spatula end of my Take Your Pick tool, and I'm going to take one of these little ones, and that is going to form the dot of my J. It's raised up a little bit more, so it just looks a little bit more right. And you know how I always say odd numbers? Well, I'm sort of breaking my rule here on this card, but it's sort of not at the same time. Because remember how I usually do rules of threes, right? So I'm going to do 3 at the top. And then I'm going to do 3 at the bottom. So see, I did break my rule sort of, because 3 and 3 make 6, and that's not an odd number. Oh, wait, that's sticking to my finger, not the card. But in one sense, if you think of this as 2 separate pieces, well, then my rule still applies and I'm good. So there's my card. And I've got 2 number votes in there. How about the rest of you? So Diana and Vivian, if you're still on, go ahead and guess a number and type it in the comments. Now we're not done because of course we have to stamp the inside, right? So I didn't say it before, but these are the floral gallery dies, which coordinate with the art gallery dies. For those of you who placed an order this month of $30, at least $30, you are receiving the customer appreciation class that works off of the art gallery set. Doesn't include the things in with the dies. So for my customer appreciation classes, because I'm not sure that everybody has die cutting ability, I stick with just the stamp set. I do show some extra cards at the end that use some of the dies, but for the class, I'm really focusing on just the stamps. So I'm going to get my stamps out. Now I've already got this stamp out, and I don't want to stamp that one first. I could, but it's just not how I operate. When I'm using 2-step stamping, I like the bolder one first. So I'm going to get my Mary Merlot ink pad out, and I need a piece of scrap because I'm actually going to be doing tone on tone, just using one color. So I'm inking this up really well, and then I'm going to stamp off once, and then I will stamp on the inside of the card. And then I need to clean that, but I forgot to wet my chamois, so I'll just clean that later. I'm going to add the detail stamp. And I'm going to put this over the top. And so that detail just gives it some more dimension. I really love this stamp set. So it was not one of the first things that I bought out of that January to June mini catalog, because there were a lot of things, I mean a lot of things I really liked in that catalog. The thing I loved the most was the Sand and Sea Suite, which I will also be working with in a couple weeks, I think. It's also going to be the featured set for May for my customer appreciation classes. But I loved so much that was in this catalog. I love the succulents. The Sand and Sea Suite was amazing. Some things that I did not get, like okay. I've seen some really cute stuff with the shark set, but I work at a church that has childcare. And so when this was really popular, I heard that silly little shark song so much. I just could not do it. I just couldn't do it. I know a lot of people like the ice cream set. This is a set that if it had carried over, I certainly would have gotten it. Because I really try not to purchase things that I'm not going to be able to demonstrate with for my customers. I can't get this in because it's not going to be carried over to the next catalog. But I just love these snails, and I think for anybody that is a crafter that makes handmade cards, this is so great because, you know, our craft is all about snail mail. So anyways, there's just a lot of really great things that were in this particular catalog that, you know, so anyway, the art gallery set was not one of my first picks, but I will tell you what I did was when I was looking at the pages with it, I'm like, oh, that's going to be a popular set. I'm going to really regret not getting that. So I did end up getting it after all, but it was not on my first order. But that's how my mind usually works. Just like you, somebody else convinces me how beautiful something is when I see it worked out. So this is Art Gallery with the coordinating dies and with the paper. The paper really is gorgeous. Although the dies and the stamp set will carry on to the next catalog, the paper is not. So if you like the paper, you'll want to order it before the end of the month.